There's no doubt in my mind your day will come, and you'll know exactly what it's like to love someone special.
And you're locked into another episode of the Emilio podcast. My name is Josh, and we're glad to be back with you once again this week, making that intersection between faith and animation, and delivering those redemptive analogies you've come to know and love so much. The reason why, when I usually do the opening, I usually do this, kind of making, that overarching theme. But Rebecca said, I don't like it when you cover your face. They should do something else. I'm like, okay, could I do this? Two ends meet. Making the connections.
Little Bible connection.
But I mean, Rebecca wants to see my lovely face. I don't know if you guys do, but she does at least. Well, everyone, it is the month of love, and I don't just say that just to be cliche. I really see February as really appreciating your spouse, and you should appreciate them if you're with a significant other, if you're married. You should appreciate them always, but especially for the month of February, and nonetheless, Valentine's Day.
Or friends that you love.
Or friends that you love.
Family. Or
Yep,
just
absolutely.
a time to remember people.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be, romantic.
That's right.
But Rebecca, speaking of romance, you've been hooked on some romance books lately.
Oh my gosh, everything that I've been reading has been, I started off with mafia romance, some romantasy in there, and then got some other paranormal romance that I've gotten into as well. So yeah, they've been good. So I checked my Goodreads earlier, and so far in 2025 I have read 19 books. By the end of the day today, it will have been 20.
Oh gosh. You gotta slow down. We just came off of January.
Listen, January was 3 months long, okay? Very long.
Well, because most of the ones that you've been reading are 8, 10, 11. That's amateur hour for you.
Yeah, exactly. The last book I read last year was 62 hours long. It's a very long book. Now I read that at 1.5 speed. It was Wind and Truth for those who are interested. But very good book. But woo, the narrators are so slow when they read that I can definitely do time and a half, no problem whatsoever. It sounds normal.
And kind of switching gears a little bit, you actually found a new outlet for your aggression, because I know how you get sometimes. And you have to have that outlet. And the reason why I bring it up is this might be one of our regular date night spots. About a week ago, we went axe throwing. So Rebecca, you had told me about this place. We were going to do something else. I think bowling or mini golf or something like that.
Something that was going to be outside and it was going to be raining.
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, what's an alternative? And I was like, wait, I know the perfect place. There's an axe throwing place really close to where we live.
It did not disappoint. It was amazing. Had so much fun. More fun than I thought I would have. And I decided my new career is going to be a ninja. I'm going to quit my job. Because I was a whiz at that ninja star.
Yeah, the owner, after we threw the axe for a while, he came over and he gave us a ninja star to try throwing. And I was not super good at the ninja star. Josh was really good at the ninja star. And then he came over again and he had this throwing knife, which was big. It was a big throwing knife. And that one was harder to get control of. I couldn't quite get the spin correctly. I don't know if I needed more power behind it or what, but yeah, it was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I would definitely go back. So if you have an axe throwing place next to you, you should go.
Yeah, but nothing better than axe throwing and beer, apparently. I don't think those two should go together.
It's a controlled area.
Yeah, a controlled area. But it was fun nonetheless. But let's get into some lovey-dovey stuff, as I like to say.
'Cause it's the season of love. Okay, tell me you remember, Josh, the For Him song from like the 90s, Season of Love. It was Christmas. It was on their Christmas album.
Yeah, vaguely. I thought you were talking about like Rent and the Season of Love song from that.
Oh, Rent Schmidt. I don't know.
No, not Wrenchman.
Yes.
Rent is a no. It is a one. It's all about love, community, and loving each other. So as Rebecca was saying, as mentioned earlier, this is the month of love. So all throughout the month of February, we're diving into some good old romance series and TV specials. We need to do a movie here or there, but all centered around the theme of the love. So let's get right into it. The first one we're going to be doing is an anime series, and this is actually a manga that came out in 2017. I'm not going to pronounce the Japanese name because I will butcher it. I'll just say what it is in English. It is a condition called love. Now, Rebecca, before we get too far into this, you are not a fan at first.
No, I was not. I had many things to say while we watched it. Because we watched it like week to week when it came on.
Yeah.
And every time you'd be like, let's watch this one, I'd be like, why?
Well, because it gave me the feels, at least. Not for you,
Did
apparently.
not. Listen, Hananoi is a walking red flag. Everything about him when you don't know his backstory. Once you know his backstory, he becomes a little more like, oh, I understand.
Yeah, you kind of, get a little bit of grace there.
But even still, got some problems, which we'll talk about.
Indeed. And we watched this about 6 or so months ago, so it was new at the time. And then, so we're revisiting it. We watched a few episodes to kind of refamiliarize ourselves with it. So, they go ahead and tell us a little bit about the overall story of a condition called love.
Well, the basic premise is that you have Hotaru, who is a girl. She has never really known love. She doesn't understand what love is. Then we have Hananoi, who is obsessed with love, and he really wants to find connection with someone. And they ultimately get into this like trial relationship, basically, so that she can figure out if she wants to date Hananoi. Anyway, so she's trying to figure out what love is, and Hananoi is trying to, I don't know, he's just expressing his love.
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty, broad overall description. And with Hananoi expressing, his love in very extreme ways
He is extreme.
that he does. But again, we have two sides of the table. We have the extreme affection and, showing this is how I love and care for somebody. And then we have Hotaru on the other side saying, well, I don't know what love is. I care about people, but I'm so disassociated from this thing called love that I don't even know if what I'm feeling for you is love.
Yeah, I actually thought when we first started watching this, I don't think this now, but when we started watching, I wondered if she was autistic, or neurodivergent in some way, because she just like couldn't understand feelings and emotions, and it was really difficult for her to make those connections. She just couldn't understand even her friends. Like, she couldn't understand the emotions of her friends. But as we watched the show, it became evident that it isn't because she's neurodivergent. She might be still, but it's more because she had a traumatic experience as an elementary schooler, and that informed her at the time of what love was, and sort of became a core memory, if you want to use an inside out term. It became a core memory for her and part of her identity, and really messed up her view of love. She's a really interesting character, and knowing all of that about her now, it was interesting to go back and watch the first couple of episodes, and knowing what we know about Hananoi too. It was interesting to go back because he's gone through some stuff as well. His parents, as we find out throughout the show, his parents were doctors that went overseas to help children. I don't know what they were doing, but they were doing like relief work or something like that as doctors. probably with like Doctors Without Borders or something. And but like for like his whole life, basically, they just left him with, I think, his grandparents or grandmother or something. And they would send these pictures back, and he would cut out the kids because he felt abandoned and he wanted his parents there. Like, they were taking care of other kids more than they were taking care of him, which just, man, that breaks your heart.
Yeah, when you get the full backstory from Hananoi, and there's a flashback where his grandmother is on the phone, and it's like, oh, he's really excited. It's like, oh, you're not coming back for his birthday? I think that'll mess you up emotionally.
It's like he thought doing more for people would make them love him, that he had to be doing something in order to be loved. And that's just not true. I think almost like because they're two extremes, these characters, they they're good for each other because he's like giving everything of himself. She doesn't know what love is. And so when they come together, they like teach each other through their relationship about what love actually looks like. So Hotaru's concept of love, she doesn't have one really. I mean, I guess we kind of already talked about it.
I
She doesn't
mean,
really have a concept, does she?
these experiences and these feelings that she's having are all kind of like, the first for her. It's her first.
Yeah, exactly. Her view of love, though, is that it makes people do crazy things because that's been her experience with her friends. And they like turned into a completely different person and did some really crazy stuff, honestly, because or in the name of love. And she was like, well, if that's what people are like when they're in love, then I don't want it. No, thank you. That does not sound like a great idea.
And you're right. Hotaru has demonized this concept of loving somebody because of that traumatic experience that she had when she was in elementary or middle school. That her friend, because of this rumor that she liked somebody that they liked, they did something to her that said, wow, okay, if this is what love makes people do, I don't want to be a part of that. I'd rather be content with my own feelings than not having like loved anybody in a romantic sense. Hotaru is really struggling with understanding what this new emotion is when she starts to do that trial dating of Hananoi. And we see this gradual shift of, okay, he's making me feel these things, and I liking him, and I in love with him. But before any of that, like Hananoi right out the gate, because of that one kind gesture from Hotaru of holding the umbrella while he's out in the snow. He's like, I love you. Let's get married. I mean, honestly, right?
Essentially, yeah. And I mean, I love an obsessive male character as much as the next girl, but in real life, it's not a good trait. And I think Hananoi's behavior is cringy to me because that's kind of how I was in high school. I was like so desperate for love and affection that I would have done just about anything, honestly. And Hanoi reminds me of that. And yeah, it's cringy.
Hananoi reminds me of how excited I would get when I had like a date or when I was in that, phase of dating, just of how like, oh, that's nice. You were thinking about me? Every time that background tune came on the show, you knew the feels were coming. For me, at least, not for you.
No. I couldn't get past his red flags. Like particularly the first time we watched it, I could not get past it.
Well, speaking of red flags, let's go ahead and get on to some of those. But before we do that, I want to read our overarching verse for this episode. And it was actually our Animated Monday verse for this week. So those of you who read that, well, you get to hear it again. And that is John 4:18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out all fear. because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. Now, Rebecca, being the biblical scholar that you are, can you kind of describe what I just read?
Yeah, I was gonna say something anyway. Um, so what John is talking about here is, I think, the idea of sanctification. So it's that process of being refined into the perfect version of ourselves, basically. And that fear is, we're afraid because of punishment. Now, there's a greater context as to what John's actually talking about here, and I don't remember the full context, but it obviously has something to do with punishment. Because fear is other things. There's fear because you have fear because you're afraid of losing something that's like important to you. There's fear um for different reasons, but specifically in this one, John is saying that there's no fear in love. There's no punishment in love. And he's talking about God's love, obviously. God's love is not punishing. And to fear the Lord, like, I don't know if you've heard and I forget what verse it is, but the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And it's not fear in this way. It's not fear of punishment. It's more of like an awe and respect. So there's different kinds of what the Bible talks about as fear.
And it actually took me a while to get that concept because when I've always thought about fear, I was thinking of, okay, well, God is, I need to fear him. I need to be, so overcome with fear and trembling that I can't even speak, in his presence. But fear in the way that's put in biblical texts is not always like being scared or being fearful. Or like as you were saying, is being in awe in his presence, being I'm not sure amused would be
Well, I
a
mean, it's
good
like
adjective or
we're ants in, like an earth scenario. Um, God is all powerful. He could end our lives at any moment, but he takes care of us. He puts us in the little ant farm and we do our thing,
I'm just
you know?
I'm just picturing God, the little ant farm, and
Mhm.
if he wanted to, he could just shake it up.
I
And
know.
sometimes he does shake things up.
It's a bad metaphor, but or allegory, but, I don't know, like, I think it's like he's all powerful, but the point here is that God is perfect, God is love, and there is no punishment or fear in love. So we are being made perfect day by day. I was like,
And before we get on to the red flags, don't worry about that guy. I swear we'll get there.
"Uh-huh, sure."
I want to bring up that our set now has a pop of color. Huh? Huh? Get it? Because these are pop filters. Okay,
So silly.
they can't all be winners. But yeah, I saw these on Amazon. They're actually made by Rode, and these are actually pop shields, and they help with plosives. So Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. So if you can, it kind of deadens that sound and those harsh sounds. Yeah, like yeah, all that. Anyway, that's a little bit behind the scenes. Don't want to derail this. So red flags, Rebecca, kind of take us on that journey.
Right. Red flags. So, like I was saying, I love a good controlling, not controlling maybe, but definitely
Tell us how you really feel.
no. I love a good just immediately like committed and everything like main character. I said the word earlier, but it has escaped my brain. But Hananoi is oof, he's a lot. He starts out immediately attached and really fixated on Hotaru, which is like it's fine. It's so that's okay. But he goes to the extreme. He goes extreme measures, over the top romantic gestures, which are like it's sweet, but at the same time, it's like there was at one point where he was looking for a hairpin that someone had dropped that was her special, um, Hotaru's special hairpin, and he was looking for it in the snow, in the cold, in, like, the dead of night, and I was just like, "Dude, you're gonna hurt yourself. Like, stop that." Hotaru was good for him in that way. Then as the show and he kind of levels off, I guess. He's still a lot, but, that can be forgiven. And then as the show goes on, we start to see his controlling tendencies. He gets really upset, and possessive of Hotaru. He she has a friend from elementary school that works at her same place of work, and, he calls her a cute little name, Hotoko, I
Yeah,
think.
Hatiko or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's Hotoko. So, yeah, he ends up being pretty controlling. He wants to control what other people call her, like, he wants to be the only one who calls her these things. He really wants, um, him to be her priority and kind of, like, tries to force that to happen. He ends up going to work at the same location so he can basically keep an eye on her, which, again, fiction? Oh, it's kinda cute. Reality? No, don't do that. No stalker romances, no, that is not okay, um, in real life. In books, yes, please. Um That's showing some anyway, so he's really codependent and more like dependent on her. It's to an unhealthy level. The biggest problem with him is that, there's at one point in the show where well, he's really icy cold to, like, everyone except for Hotaru. And there's at one point they all go out, he goes out with her friends for dinner, drinks, something, whatever they go out for, and he is, like, all fine and happy when they're around, and then she, like, leaves to go to the bathroom or something, and he shuts down. And it's like, clearly he's playing a part for her specifically, and that's just not okay. Like, you need to be with a healthy person. It's not a healthy way to be in a relationship. So there are just, like I'm sure there's even more that we haven't pointed out, but there were a lot of red flags, and I could not be happy for them. The first time we watched this, I was like, get no, no."
Well, because Hananoi would be really sweet and really compassionate in 1 second, and then the next second, it's like, "I just ruined it."
He would, like, flip all of the sudden and just be, like, mean, really mean, not to her, but, like, other people, and you're like, "Whoa, what is this Jekyll and Hyde situation happening here?" Um, that is not okay.
The biggest red flag, and we'll play a clip, is the episode after My First Valentine's is the name of the episode. It's the episode after that where they baked this bread or this cake together, and Hotaru confesses, her love for him. And then this happens.
I don't want anyone else to touch you. I want you to myself. No one else can have you.
Oh my gosh, that is so toxic. Really, that if you are ever in a relationship with someone who wants to take you away from your friends and family, that is the biggest red flag. I don't know if you guys watch any of the, like, social media stuff. There's a guy with the big red flag guy. He runs around with a giant red flag. That is what I picture
Big ol' red
when that
flag.
scene happens.
But getting over the red flags, Hotaru, there's really no green flags about Hananoi. Hotaru is the only green flag.
Basically.
Even though she doesn't really know what she's doing, that's the way she makes the situation better.
Yeah, she wants to try to help him see that um Hananoi doesn't need to hurt himself. That's not true love. Or that's not how you care for someone. Because she made a point to say when he was like looking for the hairpin thing, she was like, "Well, I won't like it if you get yourself hurt. Like, it doesn't matter how important the little hairpin is. You as a person are way more important. So if you get yourself hurt, then that's a problem. I don't want that."
And he still doesn't believe that, even though Hotaru genuinely tells Hananoi that I will not like that. You'll die if you stay out here doing this.
Which he would have. He would have caught hypothermia. He would have, no.
But it still doesn't really sink in because in the next episode, Hananoi is leaving like 2 hours early at this like bus stop or this place in town for Hotaru all the time, and it becomes like a game to her.
Yeah, she's like, "All right, what if I get here 30 minutes early? What if I get here an hour
It's like,
early?"
hey Hotaru, hey, it's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
At some point, she gets really fed up. She is like, "All right, gosh darn it, I'm gonna get here 2 hours early." She does it.
One of your favorite scenes is this one.
How long have you been waiting?
Oh, I just got here.
This boy is a liar.
Like, yes, yes, he is.
I get that he's trying to be sweet and coy, but you didn't just get that. You've been
Yeah.
waiting for a while.
Like, I've been waiting for a little bit. You could have said that. Or a lot, or whatever. Or maybe just don't wait that long.
Yeah.
I guess in the beginning, he didn't know when she would get off of the train or subway or bus or whatever.
I mean, yeah, again, we're trying to give a little bit of grace, a little bit benefit of the doubt. Hotaru also teaches Hananoi how to treasure things and really show that you care, but in a reasonable way, and not to go to like these different streams. In the episode My First Valentine that I mentioned earlier, after they've baked the bread or the cake, Hotaru says,
So if we can change for the worse, we
worse
can also change for
for
the
the
better.
better. And I'm like,
Which I was like, oh,
Mm.
okay.
but then that next thing happens, which we showed earlier, right after. I'm like, come on, man. I'm trying to
One step
be
forward
happy
and
for you.
2 steps back. Yeah. This one was a difficult one to watch week to week for sure.
Because I would feel so happy and I would feel like you did. It's like, nope.
I would point stuff out. I would be like, "No, Josh, come on, come on." He's like, "Can't you just be happy for him?" I'm like, "No, no, I can't, because he's gonna mess it up in just a second." And there's a standard too. The Bible has a standard for what love looks like. We can see, what true love is like.
And we've all heard this verse before. I mean, I mean, I don't even know if I want to read it. I'm gonna just put it up on the screen. All right, Rebecca, go ahead and read it.
Okay. It's the chapter of love, Corinthians 13. It starts off by saying basically like if you have not love, you're nothing. It's like your actions, your words are meaningless.
Yeah,
But
it's a clean symbol.
yeah, clinging gong, yeah, whatever it is. But we start off by saying love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres.
And that is that godly standard of love. And I'm speaking to husbands here. This is how you should love your wife. Be patient, be that showing that grace.
There's a verse though in I forget where. I think it's maybe Ephesians, where it says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church." Well, what did Christ do for the church?
He died
He,
for them.
yeah.
So husbands, you need to die right now, just real quick.
No.
Just go die.
Stop. Josh. No, it's more of like serving and sacrificing and building bridges. And because that's what Jesus did when he died on the cross for us, is he built that bridge so that we could have communication with God. And I think, men and women have different roles in society, in the home, really. And that's not to say one is less than the other, whatever. But in general, men have been called to, it's sort of is built in to protect, to fight for stuff. It's like an outward protection. And then women I see as like this emotional protection, and building up the family and doing all of these things and taking care of the home. And not that we can't have jobs. That's not what I'm saying. Just like our focus is different for men and women. It's pretty evident to everyone. We are far more emotional and, all of this. So we like keep, I don't know, emotional connection there. And guys are more like, how can I fix it? How can I help? I want to make sure we have a roof over our head, that we have food, that we have like all of these things. And yeah, it's sort of a surrounding protection. And both are very, very important. Very important.
Yeah, we all have our respective roles. And as guys, I know that my intuition, when anything's like wrong with Becca or anything, I want to automatically fix it. And sometimes you don't need to be the fixer, you need to be the listener.
Yes. We learned that last week.
Yeah, it was a crazy week. Nothing bad, but it was just a crazy.
It was an emotional week. There's a lot that happened. Josh was amazing.
well, thank you.
You
But
were.
we talked about it. We had those conversations that we didn't want to have those conversations, but we needed to, and we talked through it and made it through. And here we are talking about a condition called love and all this stuff. And so a condition called love is available on Crunchyroll. I would recommend it. Rebecca, have you changed your mind about recommending this to others?
If you are interested in watching some what not to do's in relationships, then yeah, you'll have fun.
And if you want the feels, even though they're followed by red flags soon after, you'll have fun too. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and ring the bell for notifications so that you are notified every time that we upload a new video. And until next time, keep those halos shiny and stay holy, my friends.